Come. Sound excellent. Welcome to Occam's Razor. This is Blazing Cat for Fridays, where we do a cold read through of the best news aggregate for an unobscured eye on current events. I'd like to thank BCF for posting these live streams and for his tireless commitment to publishing a site every day for coming up on 20 years in February. As you may be aware, BCF has an annual fundraiser that was a couple of months ago, so please support his site. It takes a lot of work to manage a website, and he does it every day for 20 years. We are streaming on 3 platforms, Rumble, X, and CommuTube, so please give us a like, thumbs up, follow, share, subscribe. Most of all, the chat is up in Rumble, so please feel free to ask anything. Keep it clean or don't, and be abusive or don't. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Comments drive the algorithm, and when I'm not driving it down with forbidden words, say all the mean things you want in the chat. I couldn't care less. Got a thick skin. After the live stream, please join us on the NAP, the no answer period, at 10:30, where we cover the question period, prefaced by a review of the far left evil that has beset our land and the events that surround it. The no answer period is a daily show whenever the House sits, or until the House stops sitting, or until the government stops showing up to work. So let's get right into it. Once again, apologies for the very beginning. It seems I can't have a show without some kind of technical issues. Let's get right into the site. This is a cold read through, and we are going to refresh the site. I have not looked at his site for 24 hours. Oh, and there we go. Excellent. BCF's got the post up. We'll just wait for this W2F to load. All right, here we go. Wow, a Muslim man entered a church in Mosaic, France, and threatened to punch a nun in the face while making loud, aggressive animal noises. Why isn't this being reported in the media? Well, I think we know why it's not being reported in the media. Oh, you know what? Maybe I should show you guys what the hell I'm looking at. Maybe that would be better, eh? Ta-da! Wow. Let's have a quick look at this.
Non. Vous avez compris? J'ai fait une vidéo. C'est bon. Oh, c'est bon. Merci. Vous l'avez de face aussi?
Now, I wonder if there would have been some news coverage if the roles had been reversed. If somebody had gone into a mosque and done this, I bet you there would be coverage. Liberal whirlwind blocks Wilders from power and lesson for Starmer. Yes, I was looking at those election results that 2CTV was putting up. He lost a few seats, and I guess they got pretty close last time around, but I guess the wave has been rid. Geert Wilders will be banished to the opposition benches following election results that put centrist liberals in pole position to lead the next government. Denmark has fallen. Dutch Trump won a landslide almost 2 years ago in a result that shook Europe, led by governments struggling to contain their own insurgent hard-right parties. Hard-right parties that were gaining a lot of traction because of uncontrolled mass immigration. Leaders, including Keir Starmer, will be poring over Rob Jetton's triumph for clues to how to ward off the threat of populist and anti-migrant right, led by the poll-topping Nigel Farage. Well, in this case here, I think it's just the demographics. It was inevitable. Geert Wilders rode because people had had enough of the uncontrolled mass immigration, and Geert still has threats against his life. Like when people write these columns, they never mention the fact that he has threats against his life and he has to have security all the time because of these Muslim migrants in their country, constantly threatening his life. So, but now they have enough of them in there, and now the libs will have full control, and Denmark will be nothing but a subsistence state within the next decade. Nice try, Geert. I've followed your career for, wow, 15 years. It's time to leave the country, I think. Leave it to the people that they have brought into your country to replace you. WTF? Oh my goodness. Is this my CDS? On a scale of 1 to 100, how much cringe does this give you? Oh, God.
Racial discrimination and harassment are an affront to these values, and yet we allowed these injustices to occur and fester within our ranks. Therefore, on behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, I offer my most sincere and deepest apologies. I apologize to every CAF member, veteran who experienced racism, discrimination, and harassment. And I acknowledge we failed you.
I don't think they're getting it. Because the only discrimination we've been facing and harassment has been from these cultural Marxists themselves. These diversity, equity, inclusion that ensure that some people are more equal than others. When we're all treated like second-class citizens in the Canadian Armed Forces for refusing to be injected with your experimental injection, and then those that got killed and injured, you just like abandoned duty of care to them, told them to go to the vaccine injury support program, which then denied them because by the time they went there, it was too late to fit the window. Not that the VISP is actually working. As a report come out from Marvel News, I'll be covering that on my preamble to the NAP prior to question period later. It's absolutely insane, this little performance that she's done. Little Jenny that ran away as soon as their position started coming under indirect mortar fire. She grabbed all her belongings in her rug that she bought locally and tried to hitch a ride on a American chopper to get the hell off the base that she was positioned at as a commander. The chopper guy said, "Get the hell off her chopper. You got a job to do here." Of course, they denied it. D&D denied it. CAF denied it. Everybody denied that this actually happened. But guess what? When these stories circulate within the rumor network and then it gets reconfirmed by people that were there, well, we know that, like everything else that you people are saying, like this little performance right here is just a fucking performance. We don't fucking believe you. Oh, well, you believe yourself that you actually think that, the Canadian Armed Forces was racist when we were actually there to do a job, to effectively use violence to achieve a political ends. But this is just politics. This is why they can't get any recruitment. This is why they need translators in Gagetown to coordinate between the instructors and the recruits because they allowed people to join that can't even speak English or French. This is the kind of anti-racism that they're bringing into the armed forces, of allowing anybody and everybody to join unless, of course, they're white and Christian. What does Bill Smith say here? This one goes to 110. The feminization of Canada continues apace, and it is mighty toxic. Ha! I suggest you go to the Royal Military College webpage and look up their principal and look at her webpage and see what she says at the top of her page. And then go into their DEI department and see the BS that's there. That they are just, have a factory of cultural Marxists pumping out pathetic leaders out of the Royal Military College, which, by the way, has seen an explosion of cadets trying to repeatedly saying they're going to unalive themselves. Yes, I had a buddy who worked there, and it's like at least once a week there was a cadet there saying, "I can't take anymore. I gotta end it all." And these are the people they're recruiting. And we used to have a vetting system. We used to vet people before we allowed them to join. But now, with the liberals, with her help, this fucking thing here that's running the military, they said, "Oh no, we'll do away with making sure that we get the best people to join. We'll filter them out after we get them in, just so we can get the numbers out. Let everybody join." Oh no, not you white people. Not you Catholics or you Christians. No, not you. No, no. We got to let all the other people in so we can fill in our cultural Marxist equity quota. We don't have a military. We have a kabuki theater of victim oppressor. ideology. Thanks, BCF, for putting that one up for me. I think you probably did that on purpose. Ontario sets date to remove speed cameras, temporary signs to be installed. Temporary signs? What the hell are temporary signs? I think those are called road signs, like the actual posted speed limit, the way our roads were designed in accordance with the Highway Traffic Act. It's so one of the hats that I used to wear as well. I used to be a driver instructor examiner. Yeah, in at one point in my life, which means you have to be intimately knowledgeable with the Highway Traffic Act. Whatever province you're going to be training and teaching people, you have to be aware of the local laws. And having driven in other parts of the planet, I got to tell you, road signs are pretty important. Regardless of what language it's in, those paradigm symbols, once you know what they mean there, you can at least get yourself around. But temporary signs to be installed? What do you mean temporary? What? There used to be a speed camera here. Please slow down. Hell, the Ford government's automated speed enforcement legislation will become law just 2 weeks after it was first introduced, compelling municipalities to remove speed cameras before roundabouts. Speed bumps and flashing lights have been installed. Transportation Minister Parabeam Sarkaria said omnibus red tape bill, which includes the speed camera ban, will receive royal assent next Monday, with municipalities then required to remove the cameras by November 14th. Well, they were always just a bit of a cash grab, and nobody liked them. And again, it's wasting our tax money. It's this whole system of punishment as opposed to dangling a carrot to get people to follow you and follow what's happening has been proven to work. I think what was it? The difference between Denmark and Norway at one point, and this had started back in the 90s, and they were looking at two different insurance models. And one was that you would be punishing people uh, if they drove over the speed limit, and the other one was is that they would reward them if they drove within the speed limit. And they found that the reward system had an 80% increase in people like following the law because there was a carrot as opposed to a punishment at the end. Hundreds reportedly killed at Sudanese hospital as evidence of RSF atrocities mount. Sudan's rapid support forces killed hundreds of patients and staff inside a hospital at El Fasher, according to the World Health Organization and Sudan Doctors Network, after the paramilitary group claimed control of the city on Sunday. WHO Secretary Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said he was appalled and deeply shocked at reports that more than 460 people have been killed at the Saudi maternity hospital without assigning blame, in post on X. Facebook post on Wednesday, the Sudan Doctors Network, a medical group monitoring the civil war, said rapid support forces yesterday killed in cold blood everyone they found inside the Saudi hospital. This is red on red. Both sides are Muslim, as BCF writes here. And here is a next post by Biafra Liaison Malaysia warning graphic RSF paramilitaries allegedly massacre all patients in the Saudi hospital in Al Fashir, Sudan. Biafrans, if you think that terrorists will abide by humanitarian laws and conventions, if you think that the so-called bandits have moral sympathies, yeah, they do not. I'm not going to play this violence. I don't need to get triggered today. I had enough VA, Veterans Affairs reminders and memories yesterday. The heavy hours continued to weigh in El Fasher, with each hour passing, new videos emerged documenting the atrocities of the RSF militia, whose mercenaries boast about executing unarmed civilians, fleeing their terror. This militia has transformed into a terrorist organization, as they all do. Next story, Andre Prat, Andre Prat, 30 years on from the 95 referendum. We are now three solitudes. Oh, yes, I remember that. I was in search and rescue at the time, at 44 Squadron in Trenton. And I remember a group of Sartecs getting together. One of the guys had a beater car, and he painted a huge Canada flag on his roof. And then they drove down to Quebec. I think they went to Quebec City. And then I think there was a big rally at the time there to try to, you know, defeat the separatist vote, and which it was defeated at the time. I'll never forget that time. And of course, that was the second time in my lifetime that there was a separatist vote. The first time I lived through that when I was actually living in Quebec during the first referendum under the Péquists by René Lévesque, a um, a very important nationalist politician in our history in Canada. We didn't like him because he was anti-federalist and he wanted to destroy Canada. But on the other side, back then in politics, you actually respected the other politicians, even if they had an opposite view like this, wanted to tear up the country, because they made a valid, cogent argument for their side, and that's why he was respected. Had 27,145 voters checked yes instead of no on October 30, 1995, the government of Quebec, led by Parti Québécois Parti Québécois leader Jacques Parizeau, would have started on the road towards declaring Quebec an independent country. That's how close we came from Canada breaking up after its relatively short history of 128 years. Correction: Canada would not have broken up. The Confederation would have had one less province. Because in those 128 years, we didn't always have 10 provinces, right? Canada, initially in Confederation, what do we have? Lower and Upper Canada, which became Ontario and Quebec, the eastern provinces, not including Newfoundland, and that was it. And then slowly and then Newfoundland joined last in 1948, after the war, after World War II. So this whole thing is like, oh, we're going to break up Canada. Well, stop effing around, Canada. You have a series of substates that you're supposed to be protecting, right? The federal protection over that whole area, you've now abused in 128 years by meddling, by trying to get into their provincial things, and now recently, in the last 10 years, by making everyone poor by your poor legislative decisions. Ontario police chief tells MPs nearly all crime guns from the US urges focus on border over buyback. Indeed. What are we gonna? They just announced $600 million on gender system parity, equity. I don't know. $600 million doesn't matter. It's money laundering to buy votes. That's all that is. And of course, they said it's investing. We're going to invest $600 million in gender equity. It's not investing. That's wasting money. That's spending money. And meanwhile, we're also confiscating guns from legal gun owners. Outstanding. That'll fucking fix the problem on the streets. Morons. The Ontario Provincial Police Commissioner has told MPs that Ottawa should crack down on illegal guns coming over the U.S. border instead of collecting guns from law-abiding citizens through its buyback program, saying 91% of guns used in crime come from the United States. We will exceed over 2,000 gun crimes this year, again, 91% of them coming in from the U.S. OPP Commissioner and Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police President Thomas Carrick told MPs at the House of Commons Justice Committee meeting on October 28. These are the dangers. These are the strains and drains on our resources, and this is where we need to be spending our time and our attention. But no, Gary is the most dangerous, stupid man in country, and he is our safety minister. Lying continually, lies through his teeth, lies like a rug. Oh, I didn't say those things. Well, of course, he's caught on tape. ICE detains UK journalist suspected of Muslim Brotherhood connections. Well, you know, shouldn't be carrying your Muslim Brotherhood card on you, I guess. The British journalist Sami Hamdi was reportedly detained on Sunday morning by federal immigration authorities at San Francisco International Airport, and the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, says that action is apparent retaliation for the Muslim political commentator's criticism of Israel while touring the U.S. Well, apparent. This is apparent, yes. Well, let's not forget that the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, is an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation terrorism trials for funding Hamas. Hello. And in Canada, we used to have CARE-CAN, but now they're called the NCCM, the National Council on Canadian Muslims, and they've been rather vocal this week. trying to get their charities unlocked, saying that it's unfair that they're being targeted, saying that they're funding terrorism. Well, let's not forget that zakat, which is what we know Islamic funding to be, charity to be, never goes to anyone but other Muslims. So they are a self-contained ideological contained unit of everything, including the money you send to them. So if they say that there's suspected Muslim Brotherhood connections, first thing I'd look at is that, is he Sunni? I'd start there. NewsGuard sent us the latest list of our misinformation. Here's how we replied. NewsGuard has been in touch again, the fact checker, founded by a Democrat activist and funded in part by Publicis Group, which represents leading pharmaceutical and healthcare companies, including Pfizer, has sent Daily Skeptic its annual interrogation over where its thought police have been deemed that we have deviated from the appropriate narrative. From migrants eating wildlife to vaccines causing blood clots. Though, notably, no climate objections this time. We did win that argument. NewsGuard asked us to issue corrections to ensure the purity of the official narrative is left untarnished, even in the humble pages of the Daily Skeptic. Since NewsGuard's completely impartial, not at all biased ratings are used by advertisers to blacklist companies and Microsoft to train its search engine, we thought we'd better reply, though with little hope of an improved rating, given that when Hobie bent over backwards to address NewsGuard's points the first time we were contacted, we saw our ratings halved. So reported in the New York Post. Here's what NewsGuard asked us this time and our responses. Well, that might be a really good read. And this explains why the lies continue to permeate through Google, through the alphabet space, right? Because they keep insisting that the vaccines didn't cause the blood clots. It's something that they did try to hide by refusing to do autopsies, but embalmers are the ones that ended up blowing the whistle. And they couldn't get away from it. And all I have to say repeatedly is like, people say, the vaccines are safe. How's the vaccine injury support program working out for you? Calgary Tory MP places staff on full election red alert for upcoming budget. Yes. So this will there be an election or will there not be an election? I guess it really comes down to the NDP. Now the NDP are not in a position to have an election. However, politically, they're better off in terms of votes. Now their members may not be organized and ready because, their last leader left them in a shit pit, blowing money for a boxing video, and now they got no money left, and they can't even afford to run a leadership election. You know, they probably could do it online, but if you've seen any other NDP leadership challenges happening in some of the provinces, these people have the most colorful people, I would say, join the NDP and then say stuff at these meetings. So who knows? The NDP supports the Liberals, the budget will pass, and which means the prediction will be that 6 months from now, the Canada will be so bad off that there will be another election again, because things will be like self-imploding and destroying because everything they put in this budget, I think they put this budget together on purpose so that it would fail, so that they could finally grab the majority, and which is why we're seeing this really huge uptick in the news in certain areas where they're trying to control the messaging. And of course, the Orange Man Bad message is still getting through because apparently 43% of Canadians still think Americans are our greatest enemy. People out there have been completely brainwashed. The whole Nazi propaganda era of using hate to manipulate people has really worked effectively for the Liberals. And you can see it in their reactions online. You can see it in just trying to talk to any Liberal. They lose their freaking minds on you, or they won't talk to you at all because they can't have a normal conversation without losing their bloody minds. Now, it's been intimated that there might be a blue flu, whereby some people might not show up to vote. I'm too sick to vote. But that doesn't even count anymore because everybody can do it electronically on their bloody phone. They don't even have to show up. There's no excuse anymore for them not to vote unless you're actually unconscious from being sick, there's no reason for you not to vote anymore as a member of parliament, which means that the Bloc have said they're not supporting it. Obviously, the Conservatives can't support it. So if their plan is to allow this budget to go through, um, unless they can convince the NDP to support it, it's we might be heading into election. But if we do, my God, the propaganda machine is going to be in over freaking drive. And we, the few of us who still are able to do some videos and try to influence the votes out there, if this election comes into pass, are going to have to be in overdrive, pumping out at least 2 to 3 videos a day to try to get the message out there, to remind people that the last 10 years in Canada have just been nothing but misery, except for the few people who have profited from the cultural Marxism in the Liberal Party. A group of people that they have slowly built up and increased in size through their manipulation and brainwashing in the schools. Oh, yes, they have a whole army of tiny little cultural Marxists coming out of the schools these days, ready to build their own mountain of skulls. Calgary Nose Hill Conservative MP Michelle Rempel Garner says her campaign team has been placed on full election alert, warning the Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal government may be preparing to trigger another federal election this fall. In a post on X, Rempel Gardner accused the Liberals of attempting to force an early vote before Canadians fully grasp what she described as full impact of their exploding deficit and catastrophic failures on trade negotiations. Well, let's again, full impact. The budget's not even out, and they're announcing, we're going to spend $600 million on gender equity. They're insane. Absolutely freaking insane. The radical left in Islam, a marriage heading for the rocks. Yeah, well, we could have told you that. Red and green marriage was always inevitably going to fail because they will each use each other until they're no longer useful, and then they will turn on each other. Policies undertaken out of spite or mischief seldom end well. The left's obsession with changing Britain with massive unsustainable immigration is now reaching what technocrats like to call an inflection point, a smarty pants word from differential geometry, which to the rest of us means change, for the left as much as anyone else. Last Saturday in Whitechapel, East London, a proposed protest by UKIP was banned by the police. Into its place sprang a big demonstration by masked and balaclava wearing Islamists shouting, "Allahu Akbar! Zionists come off our streets, from the river to the sea!" Praise for the murderers in the ranks of Hamas and other pro-Palestinian caterwauling. Alongside them were the far left in the form of stand up to racism. There was some ill-tempted jostling between the apparent allies, some of which was caught on video and went viral online. Indeed. Why is Glamour honoring men as its Women of the Year? That's because cultural Marxists don't know the difference between a man and a woman. Since 1999, Glamour magazine has celebrated its Women of the Year awards as an initiative to honor extraordinary and inspirational women from a variety of fields. This year, in a special Women of the Year feature, the UK edition has chosen to honor 9 men. Yeah, so it's nice to see the Babylon Bee is no longer parody, but just mainstream. John Iveson watch for Carney to deliver a draconian budget by stealth. Hmm, indeed. What are you saying, John? The Carney government tried to inoculate itself against charges of austerity on Wednesday as François Philippe Champagne promised sustained funding for gender equality programs. We take no lessons from the conservatives on this side of the house, Mr. Speaker. That's fucking Philip Champagne right there. But what the finance minister's right hand giveth, his left hand is set to taketh away in the next week's budget. You know, currently, even before this budget, if we ran our household like the liberals run their budget, I would be $427,000 in debt. That's basically the debt that each household, not each person, but each household in Canada holds right now because of these clowns. And it's set to get bigger. Yes. In fact, they like to think as debt as an investment. Did you know that your credit cards are an investment? All that money, all that interest that you got to pay every month if you have an amount there sitting in your credit card, that's that interest, that's an investment according to these clowns. That's who you hired, Canada. The Carney government tried to inoculate itself, eh? But what as the Canadian Center for Policy Alternatives identified in a new research paper, the sacrifices Carney referred to in his recent speech at the University of Ottawa will likely be made by stealth. Rather than announcing major cut, the left-wing think tank warned that 32 out of 84 departments could meet their government-ordered 15% budget cuts by simply not renewing programs that are due to sunset. Another 20 departments could reduce their spending by 5% by sunsetting. Or we could stop spending billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on consultants and stop sending billions of dollars overseas for to the Ukraine, or billions of dollars over for gender equity bullshit in Africa. We could stop spending all that money, right? Or maybe stop wasting money on a gun confiscation program. I almost said buyback. You can't buy something they never bought in the first place. Yeah, left-wing think tank. Woman abducted by Afghan man and his 3 friends beaten and used as sex slave for a week and forced to have her tormentor's name tattooed across her stomach. Oh, Muslim values are Canadian values. A young woman was kidnapped and used as sex slave by Afghan man and his 3 friends was forced to her tormentor's name tattooed across her stomach. In 2023, the then 21-year-old was kidnapped, gagged, and raped for several days by her ex-boyfriend, a 33-year-old Afghan man named locally as Jasser A. Jasser reportedly met up with the victim on August 23 before holding a knife to her throat as his 3 friends emerged and ambushed her. So there's a reason why they say borders, language, and culture. If you don't have any borders, language, and culture, you don't have a country. If people don't share the same cultural values as you do, and you let them into your country, and you let them run rampant without adjusting their cultural values, you will end up with this. Like, this was done on purpose. This infiltration of people, of getting rid of vetting migrants as they come into the country, this was all done on purpose. In all these nations where mass immigration is allowed to come in uncontrolled, it's all been done on purpose to destroy society from within. You can watch my Chaos Agent video. You can watch several other videos where we talk about this stuff. Yes, well, history is the mother of all knowledge, and those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. Thank you all for coming out. Please like, share, subscribe. Join us next week. When hopefully we will have fewer technical issues at the very beginning. I think we did not too bad on this one here. And I look forward to doing again next Friday on Blazing Cat Fur. So on our way out, what do we have for an outro here? Excuse me. What do I have for an outro? No, that's not an outro. I want to leave you guys with something. Just going to bring it up here. And we will do... Yes, let's do that. This is very apropos. Seeing as how yesterday was all about the veteran stuff and the VA hanging out, the Veterans Affairs Committee, and some of the testimonies that were happening. Thank you all for coming out. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
From your testimony, what you've shared a bit of what we've heard from other witnesses about sanctuary trauma, where the organization
And there's no sound.
is supposed to be there to help you, whether you're an RCMP officer or a military veteran. Could you please expand on what your experience has been with that yourself?
Yeah. So I think whether you're Canadian Armed Forces or RCMP, you take an oath, and it's...
From your testimony, what you've shared a bit of what we've heard from other witnesses about sanctuary trauma, where the organization is supposed to be there to help you, whether you're an RCMP officer or a military veteran. Could you please expand on what your experience has been with that yourself?
Yeah. So I think whether you're Canadian Armed Forces or RCMP, you take an oath, and it's a very deep thing. It's life-changing. And you commit yourself on a level that no other employee is expected to commit themselves. And you do so with the understanding that it is service that is taken very seriously by this country. You're going to do unbelievable things for your country. And the result is that you're going to be supported when you inevitably have unbelievable damage from that commitment for the good of your country. So with that comes an expectation that we accept we have these injuries, and we turn to somewhere like Veterans Affairs to try make us healthy once we've left, and to have your service judged, to have your injury judged or questioned, and to not have any support in your options. It feels very much like you receive a check once a month to compensate for the damage caused to you, and that is all you're going to get for the rest of your life. When all we really want is support to try get us to a healthy place where we can be a new form of employee, where we can be a healthy parent, where we can be a healthy spouse.
Thank you. That was an amazing answer.
My name is Gilles, and I'm a veteran of 38 years in the Canadian Armed Forces. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and before I could get any help, we were pushed out because we refused an injurious injection, causing a moral injury on top of the PTSD. As a result, I was incapable of tapping into any benefits whatsoever after being released. Because of this moral injury, I was quite beside myself and really wasn't able to even partially come out of it until very recently in this year, when I finally was able to start making some videos, whereby I explained in the very first video that you'll see inserted here, linked below, what they did to us in the Canadian Armed Forces. What this woman explains here in this video is the very reason why so many of us have given up even trying to contact the VA and feel that our country, Canada, has abandoned us. In fact, Canada, the Liberals have abandoned your country because of what they are doing to your people that gave of themselves, that served their country, and have been treated and continue to be treated like this. What are we on? The 8th Veterans Affairs Minister? They are a joke. The Liberals are a joke. If you don't have a military, Canada, someone will bring one in for you. This is how you're treating your veterans. This is how you're treating your Canadian Armed Forces members when you release them. Good luck, Canada. I hope this tanks your recruiting, because you are destroying people's lives. The Liberals are a death cult, and they don't care about you, and they don't care about their Canadian Armed Forces members. Please listen to her testimony. It's from today. And every day, we veterans are reminded how much Liberals are traitors to your country and to we veterans, period.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I wear many hats in relation to this issue and will attempt to speak to all of them in this short time. I am a veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. I was a civilian member intelligence analyst of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and spent most of my service working on homicides and national security. My PTSD from the trauma exposure is real, but many times it was discounted in comparison to Canadian Armed Forces service or regular members of the RCMP. This included comments from Veterans Affairs employees stating that I am taking away resources from veterans who have lost limbs. My experience was consistent that mental health injuries are not treated or respected the same way as physical ones. I can echo much of the testimony you've heard about processes being difficult to navigate and taking too much time. My initial decision took about a year, which is actually very good. And I needed the assistance of Bureau of Pension Advocates, which is a fantastic service, to receive a fair decision a couple of years later. Once I began having children, I realized that PTSD in either parent makes for added challenges during childbirth. At the recommendation of my psychologist and midwife, I applied to Veterans Affairs to cover a doula to help manage my PTSD during childbirth. This is a readily provided support with a call. After a 5-minute conversation, they could all understand how little I was asking for and how much benefit it would provide. However, processes reign. I applied in fall 2024. I provided my rationale. I provided medical documentation. I provided research papers attesting to the benefit for PTSD. I looked into any possible healthcare professional that could assess me and verify my claim, but I lived in the north, so my options were limited. I'm awaiting the result of my final level of appeal, and my daughter was born over 6 months ago. I walked in to meet with a Veterans Affairs representative just days before I went into labor. They suggested that the local Legion pay. This is charity I was not comfortable taking. I sought assistance from the Bureau of Pension Advocates, and they provided helpful advice for my appeals, but said they can't help with treatment benefits. I believe this to be a major gap. This one story is exactly the type of battle and weight that veterans and families face when seeking support from Veterans Affairs for service injuries or death. To sum it up, it's onerous, isolating, adversarial, and damaging. I am also the spouse of a veteran. To respect his privacy, I won't be sharing much about my personal experience in this regard. However, almost every day, I grieve for my husband before his injury, and I fight to support him and maintain my own health while doing so. I am unique in that I have back treatment benefits for my own service injury. These end up covering my mental health needs as a spouse. I have the treatment that many other family members need and deserve. Regular sessions with a psychologist experienced with PTSD and policing has gotten me through unbelievable circumstances. I've accessed counselors through VAC Assistance Service who describe my family as in crisis, and that they don't know how to help us when we're just surviving. I am also a mother. I see the impact of our service already on my very young children. I worry about their ability to access mental health care in their own right one day. I also think it's important to note that you're hearing from survivors and spouses, but the experience of children is lacking to date. I am the co-administrator of an informal support group for spouses of RCMP members and veterans with PTSD. Our group has approximately 700 members. I invited others to testify before you, but the stigma is still significant, so you'll hear from myself and Jessica Ruth only, despite strong following and support for this issue from the group. Until spouses find the group, many feel isolated and are in complete disbelief what their life has become. Divorce is all too common of an outcome, and other women have lived with decades of abuse as they attempt to honor in sickness and in health. The point I would like to make is that almost every unbelievable story is accompanied by I completely understand and have been through similar, and then recommending counseling. Not only do we have the role of caregiver to our veteran, but we often have the absence of a caregiver, as the veteran may struggle with the capacity to provide the typical support of a spouse. It is not sufficient to fund mental health care for spouses as a caregiver. Most of the spouses I've met struggled with their members' PTSD before the member accepted their condition. Most have struggled when their member or veteran refused further treatment. Many still struggle after divorce. Mental health care in their own right can be a lifeline for the veteran's well-being and can help their family to be healthy and continue to contribute to our communities in their own way as nurses, teachers, social workers, and other important roles. Finally, I am the organizer of petition E6654 and co-organizer of improving mental health care for families and survivors of CAF and RCMP. The petition was inspired by Jessica Ruth, who you heard from. What we're asking for is something the Veteran Ombudsman recommended for nearly a decade: service-related mental health treatment for families in their own right. It's unconscionable that families are still waiting to be offered more than short-term counseling and lip service when they contribute so significantly to veteran well-being and often provide support to the veteran well beyond their years of service. The veteran community is watching. We are encouraged to see senators asking the minister about progress on this recommendation. Yet we experience more sanctuary trauma when the question is answered repeatedly with a simple, "There is more for us to do." I've received more informed answers from MPs on and off this committee. It's easy to say the minister is new, but we all know there is a team of professionals behind her that are meant to prepare her for these questions. The bureaucracy continues to fail veterans and their families. True prevention would start with a similar study focusing on RCMP and CAF individually. For the purposes of Veterans Affairs, though, I want to leave you with the simple answer to suicide prevention and answer two questions asked by members of this committee already. MP August, you've been asking for innovative approaches to preventing suicide. Sadly, VAC hasn't even figured out the basics yet. It's so fundamental that the experts don't mention it. Fund mental health treatment for families independent of the veteran before death so they have the skills and capacity to support the veteran. MP Wagenthal, you asked if there is anything you should be doing immediately to help. Provide mental health treatment to families before suicide so they can help their veteran. Fund mental health care after the veteran's death so that the suicide effects don't ripple through families, as we know they do. Thank you.
On a side note, I actually did contact Veterans Affairs last week, asking them to have somebody call me so I can get some help for mental health. Still waiting for a call back. It's been over a week.